Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Commander's Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, and anything else that I deem necessary. Now, I'm recording this on a different day than I normally do for two reasons. One, I listened to a podcast earlier that I want to talk about, and I have some things that I want to talk about that I want to see in the new Kamigawa set, and that's going to be the latter half of the podcast. But I'm recording in today because I've been avoiding most of what's already been shown in Kamigawa. I've seen like the Red Dragon, that's about it, and the Hitotsugu. I've seen those. But I'm recording today because it's before previews actually start, and yeah, that's about it. But getting into it, the podcast I was listening to was the Vorthos cast. Now, the Vorthos cast primarily talks about Vorthos things. Which means lore and magic story. The Boom Studios started a magic comic that isn't part of the canon, but I have some of their other stuff based around Power Rangers, and I absolutely love their studio. Now, I was listening to the Vorthos cast, and they brought on the author behind the Boom Studios comics, Jed McKay, and had a very good talk with him. So I just kind of wanted to boost and say, hey, there is this comic book out there, and it currently has 10 issues, and I believe he's going to start working on another 10 issues fairly soon. But yeah, that's about it for this part. I just wanted to throw that out there. And I'll be right back. Hey, I just want to take a minute to tell you about my Patreon. I know times are hard for everybody, and I know it isn't easy to shuffle around bills and stuff. Believe me, I know that. But if you would like to help support the podcast and me, you can find the links to my Patreon in my link tree, which is always put into the description of either the video or the audio, wherever you're listening to it. It would really mean the world to me. Honestly, I'm just struggling to make ends meet most weeks. But that's it. That's all. If you want to help, the links will be where you can find them. And we're back. Now, the other reason why I am recording this before the previews officially start is because I want to talk about cards from the original block that either need to be reprinted or referenced in the new set. So, without too much more to do, let's just get into it. And I'm going to start with the legendary land cycles. Now, you got to remember, the original Kamigawa block was 3 sets and put a heavy emphasis on legendary everything. So let's start with Boseiju, who shelters all. I'm not going to bother saying any of these are legendary lands because they're all legendary lands. Boseiju enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it and pay 2 life, add 1 to your mana pool. If the mana is spent on an instant or sorcery spell, the spell can't be countered by spells or abilities. This could honestly use a reprint, but we'll see. Next up is Iganjo Castle. It taps to add white to your mana pool, and you can pay a white and tap it to prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to target legendary creature this turn. It's actually not that bad. Again, could use a reprint, but I'm sure they'll do something with it. It's essentially the Imperial Castle of Kamigawa. Okina, Temple to the Grandfathers, taps to add green, and you can pay a green and tap it to give target legendary creature +1/+1 till end of turn. Not the greatest, but has its places, and I would love to see what they're going to do with that. Shinka, the Bloodsoaked Keep, is one of my favorite of these legendary lands. It taps to add a red, and you can pay a red and tap it to give a legendary creature first strike until end of turn. Shizo, Death's Storehouse, taps for a black. You can pay a black and tap it to give target legendary creature fear until end of turn. I doubt this will see a reprint because Magic doesn't really do fear anymore. They switched to other things. But I would love to see a new version of it. Minamo, School at Water's Edge, taps for blue, and you can pay a blue and tap it to untap target legendary permanent. Tomb of Urami, taps to add black, and it deals 1 damage to you if you don't control an ogre. You can pay 2 black, tap it, and sacrifice all lands you control to put a legendary 5/5 black demon spirit creature token with flying named Urami into play. I don't see this one getting a reprint. That's not a good card unless you actively want to sack all of your lands. Who knows? I could see it maybe making a new appearance somewhere. Obero, Palace in the Clouds, taps for blue. You can pay 1 and return it to its owner's hand. Mirror in the Moaning Well, tap it to add a colorless, and you can pay 3 and tap it to sack a creature to gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. Mikokoro, Center of the Sea, taps to add colorless. You can pay 2 and tap it to have everybody draw a card. Untadaki, the Cloud Keeper, enters tapped. You can tap it, pay 2 life, and add 2 to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to play legendary spells. And Hall of the Bandit Lord. Enters tapped. You can tap it, pay 3 life, and add 1 to your mana pool. If that mana is spent on a creature, the creature has haste. And then the last of the legendary lands is God's Eye, Gate to the Reikai. When it is put into the battlefield into the graveyard from the battlefield, you create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token, which is the old Kamigawa spirits. They were colorless and did not have flying. It's weird, I know. And yeah, that was kind of like a lot of what I wanted to talk about were those lands, but there's a lot of other stuff in the original Kamigawa block that I think needs to either be reprinted or referenced. And I'm not going to go that much into detail about them. But I'm going to start with the Hondan Cycle, the original Hondan Cycle. I think we'll see new versions of Hondans instead of reprints of the original ones. And then there's just like a bunch of like good things in old Kamigawa. I know it doesn't seem like it, but Umezawa's Jite, Life Gift, Mirror Gallery, Twin Cast, Glimpse of Nature, Heartbeat of Spring. These are all cards that could use reprints. And let's not even forget the King of Kamigawa, Sensei's Divining Top, which I absolutely expect to be in the new Kamigawa set. Maybe as a updated version for it being more techy. I don't know. Alright, but that said, that's basically all I wanted to talk about today. And I know this is going to be a relatively short episode, and that's okay. You know? I'm excited about Kamigawa coming out. I hope you guys are excited about Kamigawa coming out. And, let's go get us some samurai, ninjas, and rats, and goblins, and snake people. I'm sure I'm missing some. That's right, they had the moon folk. And the fox folk. It's going to be a good set. I can feel it now. It's going to be a good set. And that'll do it for me. And I'll see you next time, I guess. Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulpey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.